Heather. I wanted to take a moment and talk about a piece of legislation that I'm having put in for next session for 2016, and it's called Nancy's Law. Basically, what this bill does is it fixes a loophole that currently exists in Maryland law. So right now, as the law is currently written, anyone can claim an unclaimed body. Now, what that means is that usually if a person does not have any next of kin or spouse and they don't have a will, what will happen is when the person dies, whether it's in a nursing home or at the hospital, there's a 72-hour wait period if it's at the hospital. The person's body is then sent to the Maryland Anatomy Board, where they are stored in a deep freeze, and you have so many days to claim that body. Anyone, a friend, anyone really can, just call up the Maryland Anatomy Board and claim the body. At that point, the person who claims the body will start to be charged a storage fee for the body until the body is removed for, by a funeral home or a crematory. The problem exists where anyone can claim an unclaimed body, but the problem is that the law stops short of granting the person who claims an unclaimed body the right to become authorized agent automatically without having to go to court and remove the body to be cremated or buried. So this law is named after my maternal grandmother. Her name was Nancy Porter. And after she passed very suddenly. She was only 68 years old. She did not have a will. And she had just previously gotten married not too long ago. And her new husband had decided that he was going to have her body donated. The entire family had a huge issue with that because of her religious beliefs. She was totally against body donation and even giving blood. So we knew that was not her wishes, and she, again, did not have a will. So as it stands in Maryland, if, all the family members have to agree for body donation unless the person has it in their will. If the person's body is to be donated, they will be sent to a nonprofit called the Maryland Gift Registry, which is separate from the Maryland Anatomy Board. And their policy states that all the family members have to agree or they're not going to accept the body donation. So my mother and I, disagreed with her body being donated to medical science because we knew her wishes, we knew her religious beliefs. At that point, her new husband of a month decided that he was just going to completely withdraw from the process and have nothing more to do with it. At that point, the hospital, Peninsula Regional Medical Center in Salisbury, decided to send her body as a Jane Doe, as an unclaimed body, to the Maryland Anatomy Board. At that point, I had no idea where she was. I was trying to get funeral homes or a crematory to go and get her body. And I called the gift registry, and they said, they had backed out of it. They did not have her. And then I finally located her by her birth date and the day that she died and where her body was removed from, because again, she was labeled as a Jane Doe. So I identified her and I claimed her body. At that point, I was being charged every single day for her body being in a freezer. So I called several crematories and funeral homes, and they would not go get her body because of the circumstances where her new husband had pulled out. And long story short, I had to go through a long court process to eventually get her body from the Maryland Anatomy Board, and it took 33 days to finally get her body, and then I was charged, the storage fees on top of that. And by the time I got to see her, she was in a wooden shipping crate, and she was frozen solid. Not exactly the way you want to remember your grandmother or any of your relatives for that matter. So the bottom line is Nancy's Law fixes a loophole that's currently in Maryland law, and it gives anyone claiming an unclaimed body the right to body disposition, which means to have them buried or to have them cremated after the 72-hour wait period. So This needs to be changed. You know, my grandmother, she always wanted to help other people, and I want to see that Nancy's Law passes, and that I fulfill her final wish, that, you know, she's going to make a difference in the lives of others, because if this happened to her and my family, it can happen to you and your family. And basically what happens after, you know, these period of days, which goes very quickly, is that if you don't claim the body in time, or you don't pay the storage fees, you know, on top of the court fees that you have to pay to go to court to get authorized agent, the state of Maryland will claim the body, cremate the body, and dump the ashes in a community plot in Baltimore with just the label of the year that everyone died there. From the looks of what I saw when I went to the place where my grandmother was, you know, finally cremated, there were tons and tons of shipping crates in there with, I assume, unclaimed bodies in there. So this is going on probably on a much larger scale than you're aware of. I know, you know, more than I was aware of. So contact your senators and your delegates and ask them to co-sponsor or vote yes on Nancy's Law. This is really important for every Marylander. This is really important for every Marylander to know what's going on here, and that there is a significant loophole currently in the law. And if this should happen, you know, to your relative, or, you know, it could happen to you, obviously, you know, your best method is to have a will and advance directive in place. So if you don't already have that done, please go do that. Anything can happen. We're never promised tomorrow, but the law still needs to change, and we need to make it very specific so that this never happens to anyone else. So, as I said, vote for Nancy's Law. We're also on Facebook, so go and check out Nancy's Law on Facebook so you can keep the updates on what's going on with the legislation. And I'm sure, you know, you'll see the updates on my Facebook as well. So, like I said, call your senators and your delegates and tell them to vote yes on Nancy's Law. Thank you so much.